I think Dr. Reena has already summarized my presentations, and this is going to be too basic for the participant connected at moment. We all know about that the patients of glaucoma progress, and we know why they progress. We also know that who is more likely to progress, but what where we are lacking is that we are not able to detect progression of these patients every time in the within the time frame. So that's what we are going to discuss briefly, that how this functional test can help, what are the intricacies which can be used to detect it early. So progression is in general is a rule in the glaucoma. Whatever the best treatment we are giving, how much reduction of IOP we are doing, but glaucoma tends to progress. Though the rate of progression and the amount of progressions we can definitely reduce depending upon how much IOP reduction we have achieved with the treatment. So with the different randomized trials, we have find out that definitely reducing the pressures to a higher level reduces the progression to a greater extent. So definitely we have to detect the progression in our clinical practice so that we can regulate our treatment. So we can set up our target that how much further IOP reduction is required in our particular individual patient. So that's the importance that why we want to know the progression at the earliest. So what exactly constitute the progressions? If we go by a dictionary definition, it is the process of developing or moving gradually towards a more advanced state for anything. So that applies to the visual fields also. So if we consider this as white area as a visual field, so if any new depression is coming in any place where we are losing the sensitivity, so that is known as the scotoma. So any new such appearance is called scotoma. Then this scotoma may further lose the sensitivity. So such deepening of the defect also constitute the progression. Or we can have the expansion of this area. So the sensitivity has not lost further. So depth has not lost further, but the area has expanded. So this is also a progression. Then we can have a mix of both of these two, that deepening as well as the expansion is happening, or we can have that a new area has separately arisen somewhere else. So all these things constitute what we call the progression when we talk about the visual fields. In practice, what we see most commonly is that the combined deepening and expansion of an existing scotoma is the most common type of the event happens in our patients. So what is to be important is that this change is to be a consistent and repeatable. If that is happening, then we call it as a progression. Now, if we see all these things that seem so simple, then why we are discussing so that we are dedicating sessions on sessions in every conferences on the progression. So why it is important that we are not able to detect these simple things? Because this changes are not always consistent. So what is happening? Either the change what we see in the subsequent fields from the baseline is either it is not repeatable, either it is not consistent or not significant on the statistical test. So such changes which are happening, they are known as the test retest variability or fluctuations. If these changes are consistent, repeatable, and significant, we label them as the progression. So the challenge is to differentiate in our clinical practice between this test, retest variability or fluctuations from the progressions. So this change, whatever we see in our patients' visual fields, whether it constitute a progression, that's we are going to discuss in further slides. So what are tools available for us to detect this progression in the when we talk about the functional? So perimetrically, we have got static automatic perimetry, what we are most familiar with in our clinical practice. Then we have short wavelength automated perimetry or SWAP, and then frequency doubling technology, what is the FDT. Both SWAP and FDT has come into the practice itself just because they were supposed to detect the progression earlier. So their primary aim was to early detection of glaucoma or the early detection of the progression. But if we have see the results of the long terms now has come, or the recent studies, they say SAP probably remains the gold standard. So in earlier study, we find out that the SWAP and FDT were claimed to detect the changes earlier than the SAP. But recent evidences suggest that these tools are no much superior than what the SAP can do it. Also, the swab is considered to be a more not a very friendly test for patients. So some patients have reported that they find more difficult to do a swab test than on the SAP. Similarly, FDT has been shown to detect progression almost in similar progression to the SAP. So SAP remains the gold standard for detection of the glaucoma as well as for the progression of glaucoma. So rest of the presentation I will dedicate to SAP only. So what are the methods available on the SAP to detect the progressions? We have two types of methods which are conveniently we can classify into clinical methods, which itself is a clinical judgment, event-based analysis, and trend-based analysis. Then the methods which we have derived from the various glaucoma trials, which so far have been done. The problem with the glaucoma, the criteria used in the randomized trials they are very stringent because we have used a very specific condition of experiment kind of them. So they may not be as friendly as we can use them into the clinical practice easily. There are so many criteria has been used in different clinical trials, and most of our treatment guidelines and practices are actually based upon these criteria itself, which have been given by these trials. But when we are applying these criteria to our practice, it is little bit difficulty because the amount of number of the fields they require and the strict criteria they use to follow up, they may not be actually possible in the day-to-day clinical practice. Except for the one trial which we are using for the EMGTVR, which we are in the glaucoma probability analysis, rest of this has not been used in clinically. If we see that how different trial criteria are having agreement between each other, so we find there is a not very good agreement between the different criteria used by the used by the different trials for detecting the progressions. So we come back to that what we can do in the clinic is that is the simple clinical judgment is the first thing we can do. So what clinical judgment constitute is that we are just keeping our serial test in front of us and finding how that particular areas is deepening, expanding, or new areas are coming. So that is simple. But problems with the clinical judgment is that despite being its most commonly method, it is very subjective. The greatest advantage being is that an integration of data from the optic nerve and structural imaging can be done on your table itself. But when it was statistically studied, so they found it as a poor to modest agreement between the practitioner. Same fields were provided to the different practitioners to detect whether progression is happening or not. Secondly, we don't have any standardized criteria to assess the progression on the subjective basis. So still what we have available is that overview printout is available with the stack pack in the Humphrey that can be used to give a good visible guide that yes, some changes are coming into this visual fields. But what we need to be careful whenever using this type of criteria to assign the progression, that always keep same algorithm whenever you are ordering the subsequent follow-up fields, and also use total and pattern deviation probability plots rather than the decibel values for the point-wise comparisons. So what the machine has made available for the progression analysis, if we have got drawbacks with the subjective assessment, then we have two types of analysis. There's Dr. Reena as well as Dr. Manish has already highlighted that event and trend-based analysis we can be used. It's a very basic I'm explaining in this field. So we have got a baseline 2 to 3 fields, and we see that what is the defect or what is the threshold validity, which is subsequently repeatable in the different fields to be say it's a stable now. So that is the baseline. Now, if any change is happening, if new change is coming, that is an event. So we are comparing a new change from the baseline, that is an event-based analysis. But if we give a slope to that change, so we have got a change as well as a direction for this. So that is known as the trend analysis. So these two type of the methods machines can use to predict whether the change is happening and if change is happening to at what rate it is coming. So comparison of the in event-based analysis, we do a comparison of follow-up test results with the initial baseline examination, whether a change or event is present or not. The drawback is that it is highly dependent on the baseline test. If that is not established, your change may not be, say it is always happening, the change is coming. It's a progression we can't assign if the baseline is not properly established. We do not consider the interim test in between. So we do the baseline and then the final test, what is in our hand. And then retest, retest variability is not considered in event-based analysis. It is a good sensitive indicator for the any change to detect. Compared to this trend analyzes the whether progression is present in series of visual fields by applying the linear to a series of visual fields. It provides information about the presence of change as well as the rate of change, and as it assumes that changes are linear. So this is a drawback, that to make this change or direction to be final, we need at least 5 to 6 visual fields to say, yes, there is a trend of change is present. This trend analysis can be applied to global indices. It has been applied by me for the mean deviation, pattern standard deviation, as well the visual field index. So which method to use? Method to detect field progression demonstrate distinct benefits and drawbacks, as we have seen both for the trend and event. So a mix of both of these two probably is required. And that's what the most of the machines which are popular in our practice have done. And they have brought in the special programs which use both of these and give the automatic printout for the analysis. First, we talk about the glaucoma progression analysis of the Humphrey. This is the printout what we see. It has two parts. The what important about the guided progression analysis is that they have eliminated the test retest variability. So they have taken the confidence interval of 95% for the stable patients of the glaucoma. Now in our patient, if any change is falling behind these 95% confidence limit, so that will be considered as a progression, and anything falling between this will be considered as a variation. So based upon that, this report is generated. And as I told you, this is based upon the early manifest glaucoma trial, basically. So we have got this part, which if with the its picture, if A is representing the baseline fields and B is the last field which is in our hand. So when we compare this last field from that baseline field, so what are the change has come? That is called the deviation. That is in the C. Now machine gives, based upon the test retest variability, gives the probability plot in the form of symbols. So these symbols are used to predict whether this is a simple a change is present which is not significant, like with a open triangle. If the half shaded triangles, if we change a field where one change is coming, the machine detects a change which is repeated in two consecutive fields, so that is half shaded. If the change is present in 3 consecutive field, that is the total shaded. So that gives a, so this is a progression indicator. And in the deviation plot, they also write down, there is a message comes that, which is written in the red ink here, it is a likely progression. So machine tells you that it is a likely progression is happening. For a general practitioner, it is a very helpful when he gets this type of the information that the progression is likely in this patient. Another thing which this GPA includes is the visual field index. So it is integrating both event and the trend-based analysis. Here the VFI, as we all know, for a normal field, it is taken 100%, and based upon that each point event VFI is calculated, and then it is plotted against the follow-up fields, taking age as a function. So based upon that, how that VFI is changing in the fields over the time, they give a slope. So this gives on the VFI plot that what is the trend of progression. So it gives the rate of progression. Further, with VFI bar, it also predicts that if this rate is to continue for the next couple of years, so in the next 5 years, where this VFI will be stand. So it's a good tool to predict also. So not only it is giving the rate of progression, but it is also giving a projecting that where the visual field will reach in a patient if same rate of the progression continue to be there. So VFI has a lower sensitivity to detect progression, but in the early stages of glaucoma, and provides variable results for the cases with advanced glaucomatous visual field loss due to reliance on the pattern deviation plot. Because we know that pattern deviation plots suffers with the floor effect once it reaches to a generalized depression in advanced cases. Mean deviation and VFI can be complementary to each other in detecting the progression. Mean deviation detected a large proportion of patients with progression in early stage compared to the PSD or VFI. So the conclusion is that we have to use a complementary different indices of global indices of the visual field to come to a conclusion whether the progression is happening or not. Octopus similarly has a program which is the iSuite progression analysis. It also uses different parameters, whether it is in a whole of the field or a cluster of points, or at the poles where there is specifically superior and inferior poles are detected. Similar to GPA, it also gives a probability values to these different indices in the form of triangles or open V, and then tells you that whether patient is likely progressing or not progressing, or patient has progressed to a higher level of rate. So again, similar to the GPA, this is providing the same information with the probabilities. So now everything matters. What is the time that to detect the progressions, how early we can detect. So that depends upon that how many number of fields we are doing per year to detect this change. Increasing the frequency of visual field testing helps to detect progression faster, but time it takes to detect progression does not decrease proportionately. So we can increase number of fields to a particular extent, but beyond that it may not be helpful. So what is the consensus is that 2 reliable visual field in the first 6 months, and thereafter 2 visual fields in next 18 months, or 6 visual field over 2 years in a patient at high risk of variability, visual disability, will help to detect progression very well in time. So does all progressions are significant? It may not be. Then we have a clinical guidelines that what progression we should consider as a significant, and consider yes, now patient is progressing. That may depend upon which area of the visual field is progressing. We are definitely more concerned if it is the central 10-degree area than compared to the outside the 10-degree area of the visual field. So that depends how much regression is coming in the sensitivity in the central area, whether a new defect is coming or an existing defect is coming. So we have both the event-based and trend-based analysis available to guide us that what it should be considered as a significant progression. Then we need to be aware about the artifacts which can cause a false progression. Like in this picture, looks a bad picture of a lot of depression in the inferior field, but once the patient's cataract surgery was done, the fields remain very good. So sometimes we may get this kind of false progression. So we need to be careful, especially about the cataract, that it is not the cataract which is causing the depression of the visual field. Then who is prone for progression, which Dr. Shweta has already covered, that there are some predictive factors which can guide us with the progressions. And just to summarize, it is older age, high intraocular baseline pressure, larger vertical to cup disc ratio, thinner CCT, advanced perimetric damage, disc hemorrhages, pseudoexfoliation, and large areas of parapapillary atrophy, which can lead to the rapid progression. Out of this, most important is the intraocular pressure. If that is high, then the probability of progression is very high. That's what we have seen from many randomized trials. Then one new area which is coming out, whether the progression can be early detected in 10-2 compared to the 24-2 patients, but we traditionally were not doing that in all the patients. Now probably there are some evidence is accumulating. Yes, in some cases, especially the patients with the parafoveal scotomas, or the patients with normal tension glaucomas, or in some other patients also, we may be able to detect the progression on 10-2 compared to the 24-2. So if we have a patient with the higher risk factors, probably doing both the 10-2 and 24-2 may be a prudent approach in such cases to detect the early progression early. Then what we should not forget is the life expectancy, because not all the progressions are significant. So what we have to take care that whenever we are taking a treatment decision in such patients for the progression to intervene, that what rate of, because as I in the very first slide I told that progression is a rule in the glaucoma, but now when do we have to intervene is that at a time when this rate of progression is not going to affect the quality of life of that patient. So that whenever we are talking about progression, we need to be careful about the life expectancy of the patient. So to conclude, detection of progression require adequate number of reliable baseline and follow-up fields. No single method is sensitive or specific enough to detect field progression in all the cases. Complementary approach is required for early detection. keep high suspicion in patients with a risk factor for progression, and consider baseline damage and life expectancy while calculating the significant rate of progression. Thank you so much.